Hello everyone, my name is Marika Rekla and welcome to today's AIRAH Technology Talk webinar session. So today's Tech Talk presentation will be presented to you by Pacific Ventilation and it will be on raising the bar on indoor air quality. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask our presenters today, please ensure you do so by typing them into the Q&A box. So the one that's located just at the bottom of your screen, and we will allocate time following the formal presentation to go through as many questions as you may have. So I'd now like to introduce to you today our presenter, Alex, who is the Product Manager at Pacific Ventilation. So Alex, I might hand things over to you now to get the presentation started. Thank you.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on the states. So today's presentation will be around indoor air quality. It's a topic we have previously discussed, but this presentation will be a bit different. We are using case studies. We have a lot of different information that previously used, and I hope you'll find that very, very different. So let me start with a quote first. Cities with clean air gain an economic advantage because where people want to live and work, businesses want to invest. This is how the presentation will be. Why do we need to improve indoor air quality? What's the goal behind it? Why is it important for everyone, business owner or company owners, and whoever is in the building? So first, how do I do that presentation? The first one is obviously a quick introduction on indoor air quality and why we talk about it. Then I will talk about what we call HPPS, and we'll present that in a short while. It was the investment, and what's next? First, why do we talk about indoor air quality? And have we been talking about it for a long time? The answer is yes. As you can see right now, there are a lot of studies on indoor air quality. Plenty of studies, but not a lot of output. In the last 10 years only, we've seen 4,000 plus studies on indoor air quality. A study can be anything, but these are founded by the NIH. This is real study with a lot of information, and all of them can be found online. You guys want it? All right, so indoor air quality, HPPS, health, performance, perception, and solution. Now, I found something very interesting. You can see the picture here, Capgrim in Tasmania. It was awarded several years ago and recognized as the cleanest air on Earth. And you can buy a bottle of fresh air from that place. This means you have just a bottle for your own use, just to breathe fresh air. So fresh air is a kind of lux nowadays, and this is why certain companies are using it. And this is the one I use, but there are plenty of other companies. This is the closest to us right now, obviously. All right, now let's talk about why it's important. 5,000 people died every year in Australia only because of poor indoor air quality. 7 million people died worldwide because of that. And obviously, it doesn't have to be the case. We can do something about that. So you see throughout the presentation, I always put the source, so you guys can go online and check for yourself if you want. There's much more information than that. 10 to 60% of us building occupants find indoor air quality unacceptable. Unacceptable means it's either too hot, too warm, too cold. Anything is unacceptable. And 20 to 40% of us suffer from what we call the sick building syndrome. It's something that's been there for a very long time, and that would be something like headaches, sore eyes, runny nose, difficulty of concentration. And that's something we all face. So of course, it could be just because you are sick, you're tired, but it can be due to a poor indoor air quality in the building you are. And once again, there are solutions against that, plenty of solutions. Now, the first case study that I use is in US, in a company named Polaroid. It was a very large case study with more than 2,000 employees, 150 different zones, 65 buildings. What is very important here is to know that all the ventilation standards were met, all of them. And despite that, we can see a significant improvement when we have the ventilation rate increased. The ventilation rate is the fresh air. So the amount of fresh air we bring from outside, we filter and we bring into the building. So you can see that just by changing the amount of fresh air coming into the building from 12 liters per second to 24, we can see that the sick leaves per year decrease. We can imagine as a company, just by increasing that fresh air rate, you have less sick leave per year. That's obviously a cost. You save money just by increasing the percentage of fresh air and filtered fresh air. Now, if we talk about performance, is indoor air quality impacting your performance? If you have done some research online or read some magazine, you'll see that there are a lot of evidence today that a poor indoor air quality will have negative impact on your work performance. Here I use work performance, but it's also the same in schools, academic performance, and I use another case study on that afterwards. So the first one who demonstrated the effect of indoor air quality was Wildwood. And the first case study, at least a well-known one, was in 2002, so 20 years ago. That was the very first time we demonstrated and we put a link between indoor air quality and performance. So what they've done was they recreated an office. With people in the office, they make them work on laptops, computers, and they were exposed to carpet, so old carpet, used carpet. They make them work for a while, and then they just increase the outside air rates, filter it, and they look at the performance. And what they have found is an improvement on daily performance just by increasing the amount of fresh air coming into the building. Now, I have another case study, once again, at this time it's in a school. What's important to know here is that the teachers and the children were unaware of what was happening in the background. The children from 10 to 12 years old having a normal task, so a normal day at school, mathematics, chemistry, reading, etc. And two things happen. In summer and winter, they increased once again the percentage of fresh air, filtered fresh air into the building. And in summer, they simply reduced temperature from 25 to 20 degrees. The results speak for themselves. They have seen an improvement on performance, so it's of course academic performance, on 14.5%. This is less mistakes and a faster execution. Now, of course, you can apply that thing to an office, to a workplace. We might not be able to get 14% improvement, but even if you have 2, 5, or 8%, this is a huge improvement for a company. If you do 10 projects per week and you're able to do 12 or 13, just by increasing the fresh air, changing the temperature, that's something to look into. Now, perception. So why are the perception important? Can you feel when your indoor air quality is not acceptable? Can you see it? So what you see here are different apartments. So it's a residential case study. You see different apartments, A, B, C, D, and E, and different seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. This is very easy to understand. What you see here is the amount of fresh air and pretty much when this amount of fresh air comes into the room. And the amount of fresh air comes from people opening their windows. What we see in summer is that there are much more fresh air than in winter or in spring, or even in autumn. That is because when it's too warm, we tend to open our windows. We want to get some fresh air inside. So we, as human beings, are able to feel when we are warm, when we're cold, or when it's humid, and we want to do something about it. So of course, you can turn your aircon on, put the heater on, but here we just talk about fresh air, so opening your window. But we are not able to see or feel when the CO2 level is too high or when the amount of particles in the air are too high. This is why in winter, as you see here on the right side, the amount of fresh air is really low. It's because it's cold outside and we don't want to open the window. We want to keep the heat inside. So these graphs here shows you that we are only able to feel temperature and humidity. You cannot and you do not feel the amount of CO2 and particles. This is why we don't do anything about it yet. Now, if we talk about perception once more, just a simple picture. What you see here is the same place, different time of the year. What we call clean and stored air. Where would you rather breathe? Where would you rather live? On the left side or on the right side? And surely everyone will say, well, of course on the right side. The question is why? Why would you rather live on the right side? This is because you see that the air looks cleaner. Of course, when you walk into a city and there's a lot of pollution in the air, yes, you can see the air is dirty. But can you see that in your house? Can you see that in an office? Of course not. It never happened like that. So once again, we are not doing anything about air, or not enough, because we don't see it and we don't feel it. Now, of course, there are plenty of problems, as I say. It has impact on your health. It has an impact on your performance. But don't worry, there are plenty of solutions. Plenty. For example, us at Pacific Ventilation, we have solutions for every single building. An office, industrial, a school, a kitchen, tunnel. All these buildings would have solution. Now, what kind of solution? What are we talking about? I'm talking about solution that will improve your indoor air quality. And of course, not everyone is able to have new technology. So you can use something existing, just change it, improve it. In your house, most of the time you're not able to change or put a ducted system in there. So you could use what we have here at the bottom, which we call MIA air purifier. An air purifier is not the perfect solution, but this is still a solution to improve your indoor air quality. An air purifier, such as the one we have, would usually have a combination of filters. a panel filter, and a HEPA filter. And you will be able to collect particles in there, which means you remove particles from the air. So you're not breathing them anymore. But that's not going to do anything on the CO2, just reducing the amount of particles. But still, that's one solution. Another one that you see on the right side on the top is a ducted solution. So you might not have that in your house, but potentially you can refurbish your office or your building with a cheaper solution than just revamping the whole HVAC system. So what you see here is a ducted fans with filters. And we have plenty of solutions there. It could be a panel filter, it could be a HEPA filter. We have plenty of solutions just for refurbishment. Now, of course, the product is not everything. You have to look at standards. You don't have to just meet current Australian standards. You can simply exceed them, go beyond. At Pacific Ventilation, we do something we call green initiatives. Every product we supply use few energy, low running costs, and tend to be very efficient. That's another way of improving it. We can also look for more appropriate standards, international standards, or more importantly, the filtration standards. That's the ISO 16890. This is a standard that talks about health. We don't talk about performance here. We don't say, in this scenario, you should use this or that. This standard says, for your health, this is what you should be using. And lastly, use independent third-party certified product. So I mentioned here European certification because this is the most stringent of all. And what is important? Well, if you want to improve your indoor air quality, you want to have a reliable product. You want to make sure that what you buy will behave the way it's supposed to behave. So European will test a product for you guys and give a result. Say, all right, company A, send that product to European. These are the results. The product will do this, it's going to do that. So what you buy is exactly what you get. And for indoor air quality, for example, we can talk about the leakage rate. European will say that product will have that many % of leakage. So once again, you know what you buy. On these slides, I have a solution for the kitchens, something that will work against the VOCs. And why do we want to do something about that? So I will replay that video very quickly. When you walk in the streets and you can smell from 200 meters away the kitchens or the restaurant, okay, that might be nice. Okay, you're hungry, you can smell steakhouse, cool. But what's the impact? When you're breathing particles, you're breathing something you might not want to breathe. If you have an apartment or house next to your kitchen, you don't want to have the kitchen smell in your apartment all day long. You're not opening your windows. So what we do here is called the Geniox VO Clean. And that's very easy to see. You see the dirty air leaving the kitchen, going outside, and through different filtration, such as an electrostatic filter, that would collect the grease, mesh filters, a bag filter, and a carbon filter, you are able to filter that air. So you might not need all these filtration in your product. It depends on the kitchen, it depends on the application, but the goal is the same. Treat your air. You don't want to walk next to that building and everything goes into your lungs, goes into your bloodstream. This has negative impact on your health. You can treat air from the kitchen. Filtration. So this is obviously a very important point nowadays. Filtration is something you have to have in your building. And what we see here is the Del 3 Plus. Del 3 Plus is a filter that will neutralize and destroy viruses and bacteria. And yes, that includes COVID-19. So how does it work? You will just replace your existing filters, bag filters, with this one. And within 10 minutes, you will have a safer building. It's not going to be safe, it's going to be safer. All the bacteria, particles, will be collected at the filters and be neutralized here, which means what goes through the filters and after will be clean. This is obviously tested and certified by a third party. And it is also AIRAH certified. Now, I mentioned AIRAH. And as I say, you don't have just to meet the standard, you can exceed standards. There are solutions such as this one that is called a hygienic certified product. This is the next level within AIRAH. So it has been designed for health application, but is not limited to health. In Europe, for example, a bit more advanced than we are on that matter, they use hygienic air issues for schools, offices. Of course, why not? If I can provide a cleaner air with a product, you don't have to limit yourself to a health application. You deserve a healthy air in your building, in your office. It's not if I say, if you're afraid to go back to your office tomorrow because of COVID, because of everything that happened, but the building has made some change. They give you a cleaner air, safer air. Go back to the building, you feel safe. You deserve it. You have to use the right product for that. Now, of course, having the best product is important, but if you do not control that product, it doesn't make any sense. So we have solutions such as that one, AIRAH, which is demand control ventilation. And as you can see, this is more effective than constant and variable airflow. This is demand control. You only provide what is required to building. So how does it work? The goal is to have a safe and a healthy building for everyone. So you provide only the right amount of fresh air into that room, into that building. So yes, of course, you have to meet NCC requirements, but you can also exceed them. And that's easy because that's demand control ventilation. You only provide the right amount. So let's say you have a large meeting room in a building. When they have no one in a room, you only provide the bare minimum in fresh air. When there's 5 people, you provide more. When there's 20, you have to provide something different as well. So you provide only the right amount of fresh air into that room, which means you're saving energy on demand. Control is very important for building nowadays. So, of course, the question for everyone is this worth the investment? The salary of a worker and employees in a typical building exceed the building energy and maintenance costs by a factor of 100. It's not me saying it, right? This is why I put the source here if you want to have a look. And let me go back to that case study in the school before. In that school, they improved the performance of the student by 14.5%. Of course, that might not be the case in your building. But once again, if you only improve by 5 to 10%, you are making money on the long run. So yes, this is worth the investment. Now, on this slide, I put two different examples, building A and building B. Difference between OPEX and CAPEX. Building A is someone who decided to have a small investment. So they decided to buy, let's say, a cheaper product. And they know that's not going to be ideal, but that's still going to work. Indoor air quality is okay. Maintenance is okay. But usually the energy usage tends to be a bit higher because the product might be just a bit undersized. Staff performance is suitable. Now, building B. Building B decided to do CAPEX investment. They spend more money in the equipment. Indoor air quality tends to be good, optimal. Maintenance is the same, but energy usage is usually lower. The product being selected in a certain way. Your running costs are lower. Obviously, on the long run, because the staff performance are higher, this is a CAPEX. The CSIRO estimated that the cost of poor indoor air quality in Australia only was about 12 billion per year. And we're talking about productivity losses. So this is for absolutely everyone. Every single company is impacted here. $12 billion per year due to poor indoor air quality. And I have shown several solutions against that. Some simple, some a bit more complex, but we all have solutions on indoor air quality.
Thanks, Alex. Just to conclude the presentation, we'll have a brief look at what's happening next in the standard space with respect to filtration. Around the beginning of the pandemic, there was some dialogue between ourselves and AIRAH, and there was at that time a review of the Australian standard, then a proposal to adopt or review to adopt the ISO standard 16890, which is common filtration standard through all of Europe, which ensures that product performance and compliance go hand in hand. Some of the methodology or reasoning behind reviewing that from a Standard Australia and AIRAH perspective was concern that product application was not meeting the expectations or the Australian standard as it existed. So that of course, if true, if the product was not being applied per the standard, would mean that we're putting up at risk, and also not able to meet or failing to meet the code. So on the basis of those concerns, those comments, Standard Australia have agreed to propose a shift to the ISO 16990 standard parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, but in a modified format to the current AS 13. So that process for committee has been formed and discussions have started. And the objective here is to adopt, again, a modified version of ISO 16890. That will see a stronger compliance outcome for the industry. All stakeholders in the supply chain are involved in that review. What it means for buildings and for occupants is with stronger compliance and an even stronger standards, filtration standard process, is what we'll see a healthier building with respect to filtration standards. What is not embedded in this yet, and it may be a future discussion, is when the review is being undertaken on the standard shift from Australian standard to ISO standard, there was not a broader dialogue about hygiene or health in the context of pandemics. We're talking about filtration and effective application and installation of filters. So there may be an evolving discussion in the future about health in the context of filtration, and that's certainly not in this round. So this is something which will certainly change the landscape in filtration, especially around the deck constructs where standards in lift to ensure indoor quality is good. So, in conclusion, what we refer to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. His question is, what are you or we doing to clear the air? We're clearing our own air. Next slide, please. Okay. From our perspective and what we're up to as a global organisation, absolute ventilation being a subsidiary of a big group, we're committed as a global company to the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, which includes substantial reduction in the number of deaths and illnesses from hazardous chemicals from the air, the soil, and pollution contamination. So we have been heavily engaged and in a cycle of development with new quality and products and the components and all that suppliers and advertising as well. So I think the size of the audience today, as well as the previous indoor air quality meeting that we had some months back now, it's pretty clear that we're all on a fairly steep learning curve and development curve. We all appreciate that the issues of the pandemic have been very serious, both economically, personally for our own health, and that there are certain measures we should be looking to improve the general situation in the marketplace so that we can come into our own buildings and be safe and feel safe and operate in a safe way, as well as in our home. As indoor air quality and air pollution takes a higher position in our home. So I think that's it, isn't it? Oh, here we go. It's not the last slide. So every company in every building, designer owner in Australia can raise the bar in indoor air quality. We all have to look under the hood, so to speak, and ensure that we're going above the minimum. To identify what that minimum is by our building, get an audit, understand the health of the building, the health of the occupants, and thereafter make positive indoor air quality changes. That could be as simple as a filter schedule of some description with your maintenance contract. That could be an upgrade to some equipment. There could be a whole upgrade to the building. That's subjective subject to the space you're in. Alex and everyone, thank you for your time. I think it's a good opportunity now for some questions. So I'll let who's running that right in here.
So yeah, we'll move into a bit of a Q&A now. I can see there's a couple of questions that have come through the Q&A box there. Alex, I'm not sure if you want me to read them out or you prefer to read those ones out. But the first one there is from Jonathan, who is asking, what solutions do you have for high humidity environments, for example, tropical countries?
Oh, that's a good question, Jonathan. We have solution for humid environment. The first one I would say is typically selecting the right product. So having a product that is suitable for the right environment. So we have product that has been tested and making sure that they, first of all, will not sweat, even if it's really, really humid. Secondly, you can have a humidity control inbuilt into your product. So you make sure that you provide exactly what you want into your building. And then once you take care of that humidity control, and you make sure that your product doesn't condense, can you do anything you want? I hope that answers your question.
Alex, and Jonathan's also asking, how about businesses that use scent as advertising agent, example, bread shops?
That's something we see in a lot of businesses. To my knowledge, there's a thing that says that we cannot use that. Now, this is because they do not treat the air. So it's nothing that is exhausted, it's something they supply on purpose. That's a very different application. Now, is their choice? Is the choice they made to make that, that smell in the air? And it's not because they do not treat the air. Once again, it's a sales point. So a very, very different scenario here. But you see that in a lot of instances.
Thanks, Alex. And that's the other question that's in the Q&A. It's a bit lengthy, so I'm not going to read all of that out. But pretty much they just want to sort of know is if you can tell them more where the 200 degrees Celsius number comes from and what the humidity levels maintained are, which is, I guess, reference to your humidity level mentioned in the Prezzo.
So yes, indeed, AIRAH recommend from memory 22 to 25 degrees and about 40 to 60% humidity. Now, this is based on experience, of course. We've seen in some instances that some people would prefer having 19 degrees in the room, whereas the very next room, someone might be better with 26 degrees. Now, humidity level, regardless of the temperature, should always be between 40 to 60%. The reason is also because your humidity will impact your building. So maintaining that humidity level is good for your health. It's also making sure your building is not getting damaged. So why did they reduce to 20 degrees in that school? I don't know. I think they must have done several tests before that with about 22 instead of 25. And they found that with 20 degrees instead of 25, performance increased. But once again, humidity is always within this 40 to 60%, always.
Thanks, Alex. So just reading another one that's just coming through now. Pretty much Timothy there is asking, how can we ensure indoor air quality and equipment maintenance is completed to the same standard?
Well, we can do a few things here. Maintenance is the key to have indoor air quality suitable. So if we have a project with hygienic air issues and the maintenance is not done properly, then it's not going to be a hygienic product for a long time. Usually, and as a manufacturer, what we do is that we give recommendation of what should be your maintenance level. And one thing that is very important is what we call, I don't remember the name, but it's basically making sure that you tackle a problem before it becomes a problem. So you have three types of maintenance. First maintenance would be someone that goes on site because there is a problem and fix it. Second type of maintenance is you go on site every month, every 2 months, and you make sure that everything is running fine. And the third one is you control and you know what's happening in your plant room through your PMS or through the cloud. And if you see that something is not within the range you agreed on, if you know that, for example, you say that pressure drop should never be higher than a certain value, you already know that something's wrong. So you go on site and you fix it before the problem occurs. So what can we do in maintenance is make sure we use the right maintenance for the right building, and we strengthen that maintenance level with building owners or the contractor that works on it. But maintenance, you're right, is a key. It's a key part of having ideal indoor air quality in the building. Does it answer the question?
Yeah, thanks. And I think we've got Sarah who's typing in an answer to Timothy as well. But if anyone has any further questions, please do type them into the Q&A. And of course, if anyone does wish to get in contact with Pacific Ventilation, feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, Alex, not sure if you want to type into the chat function a contact detail, email address or phone number if anyone does want to get in contact with you guys. But of course, you can always send to me an email as well.
So I think it's Sarah is there. Sarah, if you can give them our contact detail, that would be great. Thank you. But yeah, if you guys have any question, we're always here to answer that. So feel free to reach out.
Great. If anyone doesn't have anything else, we might start to wrap up the session. So I'd just like to, of course, thank you, Alex and Peter, for the presentation today. And also like to thank everyone who did register and attend today's session. And just a reminder, the recording will be made available in the next couple of weeks, and I'll send out an email to let everyone know when that does become available as well. As you may be aware, so I know some of you attended Pacific Ventilation's Tech Talk end of last year as well. So if you're interested in watching that recording, that is available on the AIRAH webpage as well. To view or register for AIRAH's other upcoming technology talk or streamline sessions, you can do so via the AIRAH website, which is airah.org.au/webinars. So thank you everyone again. Thank you to Alex, Peter and the team at Pacific Ventilation. If you want to get in touch with them, of course, please feel free to send me an email. So thank you all again, and I look forward to you joining me next time. Take care,
Thank you
everyone.
guys. I hope you like the presentation.